the reason why the so-called church seems so dead and so ungodly is most of what is called the church today is not the church, but unconverted, carnal people who go to church, and it becomes easier and easier for them to come to church because the preaching is so watered down, because there's so little pursuit of godliness and righteousness, and because church discipline is no longer practiced. What do you have? You have a vanity fair, as in Bunyan's Pilgrim's Progress, for every carnal bird in the world to come rest. That's what we have. So the first thing to recognize is that most people in the church are not in the church. They're in a church building and they're unconverted. And many church buildings are not churches because years ago Ichabod was written over the door because the glory of the Lord had departed. If you're in a church where rampant wickedness can go on and Christ does nothing, it's because Christ is not there. Because when He comes into His temple, He will come in as a fuller's soap and a refiner's fire. That's why Ananias and Sapphira died. When Christ is really there, it gets very dangerous. So most people call themselves Christians are not Christians. Most churches are not churches. And why? The lack of the regenerating work of the Spirit of God. Some very famous evangelists have done great damage to the kingdom of heaven because they equate making your decision with being born again. And you got all these people who made some sort of decision, prayed a prayer at a big evangelistic meeting, held up their hand, and they were told they were born again. They were told to believe they were born again by faith, even though there was no evidence of being born again. My dear friend, if the Spirit of God has regenerated your heart, there will be evidence, and if there's no evidence, you were not born again. The Spirit comes from where you do not know, and He goes to where you do not know, but I want to tell you, His path is discernible in the lives He touches. And so this living sacrifice can only be a living sacrifice if this person has been regenerated by the Spirit of the living God.